Welcome to Make a Path Presents. I'm Ronnie Hayes, and today let's talk about one of the most requested things from the Walking Dead Season 8 finale, the Whisperer Easter egg clues, foreshadowing. Here's the thing, if you're new to the comic book material, we're not going to go into spoilers from the comic book because this stuff is likely going to be the new material for Season 9, but I will just simply say the Whisperers are the new group that we run into for the new season, and they are the next big threat. That's pretty much all you need to know. And I do pride myself on this channel at not trying to stretch things out to make it seem like it's, crazier than it is for those clicks and views, and it's kind of like my version of anti-clickbait. So if you want to know what this is all about, let's try to just run through this quick, and then we'll move on to other stuff with a little bit more substance, because I do think there's something here, definitely, but I don't think it's as connected as maybe some of the headlines want you to believe it is, so that way you click on them. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, a lot of people are picking out these posts that you see in the background. You could see them up there on the hill. Here's an up-close image of one of the posts. And you have our survivors here, and the saviors are surrendering. Now, the reason why fans think this has to do with the Whisperers is because in the comic, they set up their own posts in a very unique way, and they create a border telling Rick and gang, don't ever come across this border, or we will kill every single last one of you. Now, I will not spoil the unique way they set up these posts, but let me just say, it is bloody and it's vicious. So that's what a lot of people think. A lot of people are thinking this is, and I don't get this either, but the Whisperers making a border. This seems odd and weird to me. No, this is simply, if anything, they went and scouted locations. When they found a nice location, either Scott Gimple or Angela Kang, the new showrunner for Season 9, said, hey, it'd be a great way to foreshadow or put an Easter egg in. Let's film it so we can see the posts. Fans love that shit. They discuss that shit online. Let's do that. If anything, this is what it's from. It is simply a convenient area they found to film in that conveniently had these posts. There's also a chance that these posts were just on the property, and when they filmed there, it was a happy coincidence. So it's one or the other. It's not actually Whisperers making borders, and if you do believe that, you have fun with that. I just strongly disagree with that. That's all it is. It was simply a happy coincidence, or they purposefully set up the shots to include that as a little nod to the comics and say, get ready guys, get excited because the Whisperers are coming. Now, the next thing that fans are discussing, the big mega herd that we see. Now, a lot of people I've seen said, why is Rick saying we never seen a herd that big? The Quarry herd in Season 6 was pretty massive. Yes, the Quarry herd was massive, but this is a herd that's on the move. The Quarry herd was kind of like unfair. It's like cheating. And I don't really know if this is bigger. This looks a lot bigger than the Quarry herd simply because there was a lot of walkers in the Quarry herd, but this is huge. It's so big. They're like little ants down there. You can't even see them. And again, this is a moving herd. Very different from walkers just trapped in a quarry. Even if you compared the two, and I think this one is bigger than the Quarry herd. Even if you compared the two, again, what they're talking about is a moving herd that will one day, or could one day, run into the survivors when they're out scavenging, or run into the communities. Look at this. That is insane. Imagine if they were heading right to a community. You are screwed. So a lot of fans think that this is the Whisperers, and if you're a TV-only fan, the Whisperers, they don't live like normal people live in housing. They actually live among the walkers, camouflaging themselves. Similar to how Michonne does it, but in a different way. Again, we will avoid spoilers, but I want you to know at least a little bit so that way you're caught up. So that's what people say. This is the Whisperers, and this is the Whisperer herd, and this is the first nod to them. Now, we can't really argue that because there's no proof, unless Scott Gimple said something and I didn't know about it, but I will personally say I don't buy that. I don't believe that. I think this is an example and an Easter egg and foreshadowing. It's an example of what they will face in the future. It's an Easter egg, and it's foreshadowing because in the comic, the leader of the Whisperers brought Rick up to a hill or to a tall building, and she pointed out and said, "Look at what we got," and it was a massive herd. It was huge, and Rick was like, it sounded like an ocean of the dead, I believe he called it. It was wicked. So you got Rick on the hill, and in the comic you had Rick on top of a mountain, and he's being shown this herd of walkers, this massive herd of walkers. I think this is simply just foreshadowing. Rick says things are changing, and we're having change next season. We're having a time skip. Everything's going to change. The people are going to change. The communities are going to change. The story's going to change. It's going to all evolve. So those are kind of like little hints that the writers are putting in there. And then once Rick defeats Negan, he says, we're life, that's death, in a speech that I love. I love Rick's speeches, but replaying that speech again a number of times, I love that moment. And he says, this is life, that is death, and they're coming for us. Some fans think that this is actually the Whisperers leading this big herd, and it's set up there. Rick doesn't know it, but in his speech, unknowingly, he is saying they're coming for us, meaning next season. Now, I simply think that this is just ridiculous if it was the Whisperers because they are so close. I mean, try to explain that. So they're so close, so they're going to take this massive herd away from them somehow, and then a few years down the line, they magically do not run into each other again. Now, if Scott Gimple comes out and says this is the Whisperer herd, and they will go in a different direction and then snake back around and eventually run into them, all right, it is what it is. But I find that a little bit weak. I think it's best if this is just a random herd, and it's simple foreshadowing, obviously, because of how it's written. Here's the huge herd. We're going to get a huge herd in Season 9, led by the Whisperers, and then Rick says, this is life, that's death. The Whisperers are going to bring death, and then Rick says, they are coming for us. And again, it's not directly connected. It's the writers sneaking these Easter eggs, sneaking this foreshadowing in there, so that way we know, yes, the Whisperers are in fact coming for them. It's very clever when you look at it as how it's meant foreshadowing. In my opinion, that's how I see it. Again, there's no proof, not that I know of, that this is the Whisperer herd, but that's how I see it. The last piece a lot of fans are pointing at is this honeymoon written for D. He finds the eternity symbol that she wrote down under honeymoon, and I'll be honest, I could have sworn somewhere I heard them say something about their honeymoon. I tried going back into the previous seasons and finding something between Dee and Sherry talking about the honeymoon. I might have missed it somehow. I don't know what the hell honeymoon represents. I know she signed her name as Honey. I have no idea what the hell that represents. I just saw it as maybe they're going to have a honeymoon for eternity, forever, our love is forever, something like that. That's what I thought she was trying to say here. Maybe they will reveal it later. Maybe they did mention the honeymoon and I just didn't rewatch that scene and I just don't remember it. But the reason why comic book fans are going nuts is because the leader of the Whisperers has this belt buckle with a snake eating its own tail. Now, I believe, I looked it up, and it's called Ouroboros or some shit like that, and it is usually in a circle of a snake eating its own tail, and it means creation out of destruction, life out of death. The Ouroboros eats its own tail to sustain its life in an eternal cycle of renewal. Now, Alpha wears this as a snake, and it's in the shape of the infinity symbol. You get it? So it's kind of a combination of the two. And I think that was a clever thing that the artist or Kirkman had. It didn't play a role at all with the character. It didn't play a role at all in the story. It was just kind of like a belt buckle that was showcased on one of the covers. And if you look at it, the character even talks about, the leader of the Whisperers even talks about how they are reborn from the destruction in the new way that they live. So the cycle of renewal, the creation out of destruction, the life out of death, it matches. So the symbol was just something that either the artist or the writer snuck in there. It connects to the character, but they didn't do anything further with it that connects to the story. So I do not believe at all that Sherry is connected. I think, again, this is just simple foreshadowing and more material for the active online community to start speculating with. I think it's speculation ammo, essentially. So all of the things in this video that we covered, pretty much just foreshadowing, clever stuff the writers put in there to get us excited and hyped. I don't think any of it is directly connected to what's coming up in the storyline. There's no way in hell they're going to take a character like Sherry and turn her into the villain known as Alpha. It's just not happening. If they do that, they might as well cancel the show because they don't have any clue what they're doing. Sherry is a person who is loving and caring and sweet from what we've seen. She has a bad streak. She makes bad choices. You know what I mean? Yeah, sure, but she's not going to stand by. And look at how she was as one of Negan's wives and how she was caring and attentive to the other girls there. She cared for them. She sympathized with them. Look at how she sympathized with Dwight. Are you going to say she turns around and becomes this, stone cold killer who allows rape in her community that she leads? Get out of here. It's not happening. So again, I think it's just foreshadowing. I think all of this is just foreshadowing. So like I said, we're going to dive into some stuff with a little more substance. I got 5 video ideas already down. Hopefully I can get working on them soon, and we can have some really interesting discussions that are going to lead us right into Season 9. One of the seasons of the original show that I'm absolutely the most excited for, they have already announced it's going to be a very, very different show, and it should be just because of the material and the story that they're going into. So you guys leave your thoughts and opinions. If you do disagree and you think the Whisperer Herd is what we saw in the finale of Season 8, let me know, and let me know why you think that. Unless you just want to think that because you think it's cool, I get it, I get it. Anyway, thoughts and opinions in that comment box. I'm done talking. It's your turn.